to the music scene, showing lots of love for the community. With great advice, I know who I should go see. So all around town radio show is where I go for the latest planned info.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a nooner here at All Around Town Radio. We have a good one for you today. We've got a lot of fun and a lot of things to talk about this afternoon. Want to thank our friends from Sweet Sister Mercy for the theme song there as we roll into this Wednesday with the band. A little different today. We not only have a band, or a band member, so to speak, but we have a guy that is just so involved in the music community throughout the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky region. I want to bring into the show, without any further today, let's say hi to Mike Reeder. How you doing, Mike? What's going on out there?
Pleasure to be on, Scott. Thanks for having me on. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I really appreciate you having me.
So good to see you with us today here on the program, and I've heard so much about you. I cannot wait to get down and see this amazing collection of vintage instruments and such that you have to share with everybody. And you've got so much going on. We're going to try to pack it all into about 30 or 40 minutes today for everybody.
Okay.
Mike, let's talk first of all about your musical history. You have a vast history in music, so lay it on us if you can.
Okay, I'll just, give you the synopsis. I grew up playing in like high school band and stuff like that. My brother was a big fan of classic rock and, music like the Beatles and songwriters and things like that. And he got me into being interested in that. And then I started playing guitar, when I was young, probably 12 to 15 age, and got serious about it in high school and met some friends. And I've always sort of been blessed to end up playing with like amazing, talented people. And, so that's sort of how I got started playing music. And then eventually I had an original band with my wife and started hunting guitars and getting guitars for myself. And that's how I sort of got into looking into vintage guitars and the love of that. Eventually my bands were playing around Clifton and Short Vine area locally and, in that scene, and ended up playing in a lot of, like early punk bands and things like that. And we ended up moving our store up to Clifton in '92. And from then, it's been an adventure. I played with a lot of bands and played guitar and bass and drums and things like that, and mandolin. And it was lucky because of the store, to meet all kinds of different players and a lot of local people and, a lot of people in the music industry, and I've been very blessed.
So current bands that you're involved with, there's a bunch.
Yeah, I play in a band called Muleshine. We actually, Sweet Sister Mercy, they come to our shows, and sometimes we'll split, gigs and stuff. So they're friends of mine. Mark's actually sat in and sung with us. So.
Yeah, they're a great bunch of guys.
I love that's cool. Guys. I didn't realize that they had done your theme song. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Rob Nadler, however you want to say it, he mixed that down for us, and he did that for me. Really good stuff, and they're good dudes to hang out with.
So Muleshine is sort of my hard rock / classic rock band, and it's consists of me and Rob Olson and Mark Rea and Jeff Bacata. And I've been playing Jeff's been playing drums in bands with me since I was like 16. So we played in tons of bands over the years. And then I have another band called the Mud Pies. I would say that we are sort of an eclectic version of like soul / hard rock / blues kind of thing. And we've been playing together for a long time too. We've been, I guess, 25 years or so. And then I have an original band called Chalk Eye, which is me and Bill Sears and Jason and Rachel and Ryan. Sometimes we do a two-piece, sometimes we do a full band, and we play around town, places like Southgate House and places like that. And then there's another band I have called Motorcycle Hearst. It is me and Aaron Thomas. and Steve Earle from the Afghan Wigs, and Rob Olson. And then I also have another band. I play in the Steve Earle's band, which is called Earl Diamond. So yeah, I get around. Sometimes I'll set in with other people. You know, the beauty of doing what I do is I know a lot of people, and I'm lucky to be able to play with like amazing people when I want.
Well, you're naming some great names there. Some people I admire so much in the music business. Rob Olson, one of the greatest guys in the world, and of course Aaron Thomas, who rocks it out anywhere he goes.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I love those guys. And I mean, we're going to talk about how busy you are, because that right there just made me tired with all the bands you name. And then you've got all this other stuff going on. And guys, if you're out there watching today, please drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question for Mike, throw it in the comments. And we'd love to see you pop up on the screen here. Hi, Brent James. Thanks for being with us today. Good to have you here.
Brent is man.
And Glenn, thanks for checking in on the YouTube channel today. We're simulcasting this YouTube and Facebook today. If you're watching, guys, after the fact, you can leave a comment as well. And Glenn, we're going to talk about Wednesdays at the Village here in just a little bit. Hi, Alex Hall. Thanks for being here. So got a little bit about your history. Let me segue into that. You started Mike's Music, and to segue into that, you have a passion for guitars, obviously, and you have a big collection, I understand, and it's an envious collection of a lot of people. They talk about it a lot out there in the music community. When did you start this? Should we call it an obsession or an addiction to collecting guitars?
I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, when I first really got into it, you know, we really had no money. I opened the store in the base of my house. It was in Route 8 in Ross, and I started going to guitar shows. And when I went to guitar shows, I fell in love with vintage guitars. But in the beginning, it was really just a necessity to make money and survive, because I'd quit my job and I'd risk it. It was called Mike's Music and Flea, the first store. So it was like half flea market, half a music store. And, you know, even though I love guitars, it was still, you know, it was how we survived. So as time went on and I made friends in the vintage guitar world, I fell in love with that and the knowledge of it and the quality of the guitars. And I started sort of hunting things for me, but really just trying to make the store float. And then as time went on and things started working out, we opened up the second store. You know, we started doing a little better. I started pulling things out for me. And, you know, as a collector and stuff, you go through phases. Like I went through a phase where I would like Flying V's, and I would get into hunting down Flying V's, or, you know, custom colored Fender guitars. There was a time period where I was into Lake Placid blue guitars. I like blue guitars. I also collect Pelham blue Gibson guitars. But anyway, that's sort of how it happened. You know, you meet people and you sort of have their passion rub off on you. So I would be catering to a person that maybe collected Pelham blue guitars, and he would become a client or a customer, and I would hunt guitars for them. And then, you know, their passion rubs off on you, and you just, you also begin to love that item, or, you know, you learn about a certain thing, like how rare those are. So, you know, rarity is one of the things that makes guitars collectible. So, you know, every now and then a really cool guitar comes in, I can't resist, and I'll set it aside, you know.
So this passion for guitars and music, like you said, you started in your basement. Now you have 3 locations for Mike's Music. Tell me about that, and how did it just happen? Or I know it's a lot of sweat equity you put into this thing.
Well, you know, in the beginning, we worked nonstop, 7 days a week. You know, I would do guitar shows. I used to do like 34 guitar shows a year, and that went on for almost 20 years. So you know, we did that for a long time. And the Mike's Music location that's next to Bogart's in Clifton does well, and that was my main location. And then I ended up doing some TV shows for KET and PBS, and I got involved in that. And from that, I've always had the love of that kind of thing. So we ended up opening up our YouTube channel, which is the Village YouTube. and we ended up buying the theater in Covington and opening up Mike's Music there. So that happened around the year 2000. And when I did that, I always had the intention of having live shows and doing that thing there, doing those kind of things there. But because Mike's Music is, like you said, so busy, it sort of takes over everything. And the music store portion of that theater took over, and we were just a store until about 8 years ago. And then we opened up the studio above and sort of created Mike's Music Productions. We just did audio the longest time there, and my friend Brian Lovely was my head engineer. He still does stuff for us on occasion, but he helped me set the studio up and sort of founded that. And from there we started doing audio and video and doing the YouTube shows, and then during COVID we got our liquor license, and we have live shows in the theater now. So that's sort of how that's transpired. And then because of opening up the theater, I had to get a lot of the music gear out. I opened up the new location about 6 months ago in Newport. So that's sort of the story of the 3 stores.
Now, where are you coming to us from today?
I'm in Newport. I'm at the new location in Newport, which
Okay.
is 915 Mama Street.
All right. And you say you've got the one next to Bogart's, and then, of course, the Village Theater location, correct?
Right. That's correct.
All right.
The Village
And
Theater is a music store, and it's also our production house and our theater where we have live events. We have the Wednesday Night Jam there, and we have shows there, and we're doing some cool stuff coming up down there as well.
And can I just say that this Wednesday Night Jam thing you've got going on is the buzz, man. I mean,
Awesome. That's good to hear.
it is getting talked about all over, and anybody that's been there has told me what a great experience it was.
Well, that's awesome.
And they love the vibe of your theater and that kind of thing. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
You were there, you were in COVID. It was everything was shut down. You started doing like videos, I know, and things. And we'll get into the YouTube channel, but
Sure.
the theater now has grown into this thing where you're doing live music, and also this Wednesday Night Jam where you do it a little different. You have a different host every week. Is that right?
That's correct. We have a different host every week. This week is Ben Walls. And the way it works is the host will do a short set, and it usually kind of depends on how many people sign up to play at the jam. So they'll do a short set. Usually it's between 20 and 40 minutes. And then when we get, a fair amount of people on there, on the list, we'll start getting people up for the jam, and it's between 6 and 10. And it's a great time. We have everything there. We have a huge back line. We have auxiliary drums. We have, a nice keyboard set up, 3 guitar amps, cool drum kit, and a nice bass amp. And we have like 3 or 4 microphones set up. So we can provide the setting for a huge band to come play or a bunch of people to play at once. So yeah, it's a good time.
And what I understand too, people come to play on some of the equipment you have there backline because they enjoy that. You have some really neat stuff, I understand, for the musicians to plug and play, so to speak.
Yeah. There's a bunch of vintage amps there. I also have some of my guitars there that people are welcome to use. I have a 57 Esquire and a 57 Strat there. There's a 63 SG, and people use them all the time. And a lot of times people have never got to play vintage guitars very much, so that's kind of a cool feature for them, I think.
So the Village Theater is an event space. I mean, you have you have live music and entertainment there on the weekends and things. But can someone come in and say, "I want to run an event at your theater," and do that?
Well, I mean, we have done that, but honestly, we've been getting so busy that there's not a lot of time for that. We don't generally rent it. We're trying to kind of keep the theme of what we've got going down there, which is sort of a music hub, and keep that theme going. But yeah, we're having a Gibson Summit for the Vintage Guitar page that I'm an admin for, and people from all over the world are coming. So we do have events like that as well. Yes.
And thanks, Ben, for that comment in there. He's looking forward to tonight, he says. So that's good to see him with us today as well. And Glenn said when Rick Kern hosted the show, the place was packed. Yeah, I've seen pictures. It's packed a lot.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It's all dependent on what's going on that night, and we always have a good time no matter what.
Yeah, and the lovely
variety of different things too. Like when Rick was there, it was a lot of like hard rock metal people came. A lot of times we'll have sort of country style people, and it's a variety. I mean, you can hear anything on our stage when we do the open jams. It just because like say Lee Dixon's there and his band is mainly country rock doesn't mean that there won't be somebody break out a metal set. So it's always an adventure.
So it's all genres. Anybody can come in and get involved and that kind of thing. Yeah, I saw Lee was there, Lovely, and Seven West, and that group that were there. Yeah. So you've got a lot going on, Mike, and you've mentioned the music stores. You've talked about your bands. Now you're talking about the Village Theater. Can I just ask a simple question?
Sure.
Besides the studio as well, where the hell do you find the time to do this, man?
Well, I'm very lucky to have some very good people that work with me. Like the studio, for instance, we have Dave Swart. Mike DeColvey is one of our engineers. We use Elton Clifton on occasion, and Brian Lovely. All amazing engineers. Sometimes I'll get involved in some production work and stuff like that up there. But those guys handle that, and Dave is our main house engineer. Dave Swart has done all kinds of great bands. From CJSS to all kinds of local bands, and we're working on Noah Witherspoon's album right now. Dave is recording that and editing. So I'm not there every time doing that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Mike Carr. He says your hair's on point today.
Yeah, buddy.
There we go. So yeah, a lot going on, but you obviously have a love and a passion for this, or you wouldn't be so involved with everything and all these stores and such that you've got going on.
Yeah.
Do you yourself bounce around to the stores and spend time in each of those on a routine basis, or are you specifically at one spot?
Well, right now, because I just opened this place up, I'm mainly here in Newport, but I do visit the stores occasionally. I usually go in the morning and sort of, point things in the right direction. And we touch base a lot in the evenings at the theater and Mike's Music Production events. A lot of the times, if we're doing like a video for somebody or a show, those happen on the weekends, on Sundays and Saturday evening. So, yeah, I'm usually involved in those kind of things. We sort of took a hiatus on our shows, but we're getting ready to start up. We just recently got some sponsorship again, and we're going to start filming hopefully real soon on some of our shows for the Village YouTube channel as well.
And yeah, that we're going to get into that YouTube channel because that's very involved, but I want to circle back around to the studio for a minute.
Sure.
You say you open this studio there, Mike's Music Productions, and what is your feel? I'm going to dig deep into your brain a little bit. What's your feel on the future of music studios like that? Because they are a dying breed, it seems to me, across the country. How do you maintain the longevity of one of those?
Well, yeah, I mean, they are in a way. I'm in a unique position because we have a lot of vintage gear and a lot of things that a lot of studios don't have. And there's some, if you're a purist and you want to do analog from start to finish, or you want to, maybe you want to bounce to reel, maybe you want to just do that kind of thing, we can do that. But we also have, we have Pro Tools HD, and we do a lot of editing on the computer in the box. But our main focus is to produce something that sounds really good in an environment where you can relax and focus on the production and the creative end of what you're doing, and let us help, on the captures and also the production if you want somebody to be involved in that. So our studio room is very large, and well, I mean, not very large, pretty big compared to like what you'll find in most studios. So a full band or a full orchestra could play in our studio. We also have like a balcony area in our studio where we hang the mics over, and we can get a really good drum sound that way, which the room itself is a very good sounding room. And, I've been lucky to collect a bunch of cool mics too. So we have a bunch of old Neumanns and ribbon mics and things like that we use. So what you said is true, and especially the younger crowd, they can create amazing things. And I've had customers actually come and show me some of the things they do, like, on a 4-track recorder or even a phone, and it's pretty amazing. And I've been honest, and I'm like, maybe we can't do any better for you than that. So yes, studios are a dying thing, but we've done a couple movie productions, and the bigger things that care about maybe a different level of quality, or want to be detached from the actual production end of it, is where we try to cater.
Well, and it's interesting. The other day I heard a young up and coming artist make a comment in an interview, and his comment was, "I like to go to the studio because I don't want to focus on production. I want to focus on my craft of playing and singing and all that." And I think you said that best too, that it takes that away, because if you're so focused on where you're going to make an edit, or you're going to do this, or where you want to add this sound or that, I think you lose track of what the song's all about sometimes, and you get more focused on the end result master or whatever, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about, did we get that capture at the same time you're trying to perform, it's not a good atmosphere most of the time.
I hear you.
Especially, I mean, you're dealing with studio stuff, though. Things do go wrong on occasion, and if you're fighting a computer problem or something like that, I mean, who wants the stress of that while you're trying to, capture something magical? It's not a good atmosphere. One of the things I do want to mention is we also, one of our engineers is Pete Davidson, who works at 3rd Street up in Middletown too. He comes and records, and his band CFG and Family just did their whole album in our studio, and they went analog start to finish, and it sounds, I'm very proud of the way it sounds.
Nice.
Pete did a great job on that.
Love those guys as well, and congrats to them on making it to Memphis and doing what they did to represent the region. And
cool? That's so cool.
It is awesome, and they're a great bunch of people too. And it's funny you mention all these names, and you're surrounded by all these people in the local community as well. But I understand you've had a few visits from some really prominent people. Let's do a little name dropping here. Some of the people that have visited your store and that you've sold guitars to and things like that.
Well, I can never remember, everyone. I mean, I'm good friends with a lot of people, but, we've had like Dylan come in. We've had Fleetwood Mac's been in the store, the Eagles, a couple members of Led Zeppelin, some of the the Beatles family, I would say, Sean Lennon and, all those guys, Julian. And we've had visits from just everybody you can mention, a lot of Zach Brown, guitar people, Brad Gillis was just here. Lots of people over the years have been through, and we've been very blessed to have all kinds of people come through. I mean, if you want to name some people, I'll let you know, but yeah, pretty much a lot of bands have been through.
No, and that's great. And Mike Reeder, you sit there all humble about that and all that. I'd be fanboying out if all those people had been in my store. So I think it's an amazing thing that those people have visited you and been part of that. And it says a lot for your connections in the music community, obviously.
Well, they're just normal people, and they're just shopping for guitars, and everyone has the love of guitars, and that's what it's about. So it's just a fun time to share in that.
Thanks, Brent. Brent said Robert from STP told him about Mike when he moved to Cincy. So there's connections everywhere. People there are. And
yeah, the brothers Robert and those guys they're super nice. They've been in many times.
Thanks for that comment, Glenn, as well. He says he always enjoys. It's a good time at your place, and we appreciate you on that.
Yeah, bro.
And Mike, I want to talk about the YouTube thing, because first of all, you're an old rocker. I mean, I shouldn't say old. I guess that's not a good term, but you are. You're let's make it sound sweeter. You're a vintage rocker.
There you go.
Okay. And vintage rocker stepping into the world of social media. I think you've realized there's a untapped resource with social media all the time. I mean, you can all day long work your butt off on social media. Why did you choose this YouTube channel, and what's purpose when you said I'm going to do this? What made you do it?
Well, like I said, I was involved with KET as this show called Kentucky Collectibles for 6 years, where we were on PBS, and we did things like I went and interviewed Vince Gill and Joe Bonamassa and Ed King and a bunch of my friends that are like sort of famous people, and that I really loved doing that. That was a great time. And then when that show went on hiatus, I was like, I really love to continue doing that kind of thing. And it hit right about the same time as COVID. So it was good that, it was a good time to transfer my love of that into the shows that we do. We started our YouTube channel, the Village channel. Please, everyone, go subscribe to the Village channel. And one of the things we have there, one of the shows there is called Fret Buzz. And that show is me and William Weber, who is like an old punk rocker too. And he's a local nutcase, a good friend of mine. He's played in all kinds of bands. Anyway, we host a sort of a Sunday morning sit down and chat guitar nerd show where I have different artists, and we each play. I'll bring in cool vintage guitars, and they'll each play one guitar and do one of their songs, and then we'll drink coffee and hang out. We did 16 episodes of that, and that's one of the things we're going to get started here again soon. Brent James was on there. We've had all kinds of different people be on there, but you got to check that out. And another show that we have on there is called Live at the Village, which is sort of like an Austin City thing, where we'll have a band play. We had Johnny Fink on there. They'll do like 45 minutes on the stage, and then I'll do a short interview. And then another show is called Guitar Pickers, where I go out with friends and like people like all kinds of different people, and we'll talk about guitars. And Charlie Starr was one of the shows that I've done that I haven't released yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go backstage, and we'll talk about cool guitars and things like that.
So yeah, you're rubbing elbows with some great people, and that in itself makes people want to go watch and be part of this. And not only that, but you have this vibe about you that I can tell by just talking today, that you have a passion for what you do, and music and guitars and so on. I want to ask you a really direct question though. What are your feelings on the music of today not having guitars in it? I mean, a lot of the music today you hear that's mainstream music is not guitar based, which just kind of amazes me.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I'm not in that scene very much.
Me neither, but
yeah, so I'm not the right guy to ask about that. I mean, my world is so around guitar that I just don't know that scene very much. Although I do know that like Dave Swart, a lot of some of the people that we produce in the theater, it is computer generated. Some of it is, and I think it's just kind of sad because it's like the thrill, especially playing live, and the creativity of guitar, or any instrument where you're sort of abandon yourself to the creativity side of it. I mean, how can you do that with a drum machine? Can you do that with the production of fake sounds? Maybe you can. I know you can be creative for sure. I think it's sort of a different experience though, especially there's no real live experience there.
Yeah, and not knocking anybody that loves that kind of music, but I'm just not into the button pushers, and that seems to be what a lot of that is. And it takes to me away how do you do a show? How do you go on a tour? How do you, I mean, those kind of things that you never can do without those people up playing the instruments, other than just playing a track and doing your thing, which is to me boring and and not what I want to go see. But I'm old, so that's part of that. And the young people today have evolved into that. I hope that guitar makes a comeback though, and people realize that.
I don't think it's as dead as you think it is. I mean, for instance, when we have the live open mics, there's a lot of young people that come to that. The Wednesday night jam, you'd be surprised. I would say half, a third of the people to half the people there are younger people, and they're into it. Like CFG and family and those guys.
Oh yeah,
they're young guys, man, and they're super into vintage guitars. When they were doing their album at the store, they used all my old guitars and old amps and stuff. So there's a passion still for it.
I always try to say that Mason Johnson is the future of guitar in the world right now. I love him, and there's a lot of young people out there we see. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's dead. I'm just saying I wish it would keep a presence in the forefront more in new music.
Yeah, Erin Coburn, she's a young lady that's like amazing, and she was one of the first people we had on the first episode of Fret Buzz. So.
And thanks, Glenn, for that endorsement. Everyone should try the Wednesday show at Village Theater. Got to say hi to Pete Davidson, Ed Sawicki, Del McFarland. Thanks for joining us today as well on the program. And Mike, it's so cool to hear somebody that's this involved and this much of a part of the community, and you're giving back to the community. This open jam night obviously is a give back to a lot of people for a chance to get on stage and let loose with some people they probably never get a chance to play with. Like you said, you can have country playing 1 minute and then a metal set the next. So is that part of the goal for the Village Theater, is to create community?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I want to do. I would love it if more songwriters would come and perform their original stuff. That's always been where my heart is. So if you've got, an original band, you want to come play a few songs, that would be fabulous. If you want to get up with the host, you get to play with great people like Noah Witherspoon or, Ben Walls tonight. You'll get to jam with some great players and have a good time. But the idea is to have a community where everyone can get up and play. We have, beginners to, pros up there. And, I try to get anyone who signed up gets a chance to play. So
outstanding.
That's the goal.
That's great to hear. And that's on Wednesday night at the Village Theater. Yep. And let me pop up the address of the Village Theater one more time for everybody there. And if you want to go Wednesday night, you start at what time? 6, Mike?
6 to 10. And the artist always does a small opening set. If you want to hear their set, they start, 6:15. It's pretty loose, man. We just have a good time. So, it's a chance to get on a pretty big stage with a nice PA and some lights. And it's, it's like full production for the whole time. We have a lighting guy, a sound guy, and, it's a full mix. So it's a real deal thing, and it's a lot of fun.
And if somebody wants to find out who the weekly host is, how do they do that?
They can go to our YouTube. I'm not on YouTube. I'm sorry. Our Facebook page, the Village Theater Facebook page. We usually have an event for every Wednesday, and we also share. I usually share it a lot too.
Thank you, Sherry, for that.
Yeah, Sherry comes and she's there a lot. Her band just did a set last week. They were amazing.
Thank you, Julie Taylor. Yeah, so let's talk about some events you've got coming up at the Village Theater. You've got an event, a guitar summit coming up. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, the guitar summit is it's called the Vintage Guitar Summit, Vintage Gibson Guitar Summit, and it's hosted by me and Mike's Music, not me, but by Mike's Music and Vintage Guitar Magazine, Gibson, Comer's Vintage Guitars. And, we have Greg Martin, who's going to do a guitar clinic. We're going to have a round table of, I guess experts. I hate the word experts, but sitting at a round table talking about vintage guitars and Gibson guitars. And, we're going to share some cool guitars. Greg Martin's going to bring his original 58. They call it the Hank because he bought it from Hank. And he's going to bring that guitar. I'm going to bring a couple cool guitars. We're going to, let people see them and talk about that. The Vintage Gibson page that this is a celebration of, we've done for 10 years, has 21,000 people. So hopefully it'll be a great time. And, after Greg's guitar clinic, we're going to have the roundtable discussion. Then we'll have the clinic with Greg. He'll have a Q&A and then a short break, and then we'll have like a jam night that evening too. You can play with Greg, or I might get up there and make some noise, and then it'll be a great time. It'll be a whole day celebration of vintage Gibson and cool things like that. I'm really excited about it. So it's going to be
fun. That's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. March 3rd, doors open at noon. It's going all day long, so you can drop in anytime if you want, and at the Village Theater down there. And
you should get tickets for that on Cincy Ticket. It's already been pretty popular, so if you want to go, I would get your tickets.
All right. CincyTicket.com, correct on those?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So again, let's cover your social media. Let's talk about the YouTube channel. What's it called, and how can they go subscribe to that?
It's called The Village. It's also The Village Sight, Sound, and Stage, which is what we call that. And you can go out there and find one of the shows. The Fret Buzz. Fret Buzz is all capitals. If you search Fret Buzz, sometimes it's easier to find the Fret Buzz than the other shows. And you can also find links on all of our pages, the Mike's Music pages, Mike's Music production pages, and the Village Theater. We'd love it if you'd subscribe there. We have one of the things we have running there is this thing we call VTV, and it's local videos of local bands, and there's over, I think, 200 of them up there. And you can put that on when you're at home and scroll through listening to local bands 24 hours a day. So that's one of the playlists that we have. It's called VTV.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome stuff you got going on there. Mike Reeder, I could talk to you all day long, but we are running out of time. Okay. Anything else you want to chat about before we go today to everybody that's watching? And we know there's going to be a lot of people watching after we're live. Guys, drop comments. Michael, share this on his page. I'll share it, and we'll answer your comments for you, please. So, Mike, what else you got to share today?
Oh, I just want to say there's a lot of other shows coming up. We have Noah Witherspoon coming up in his new band at the theater. We have the Amphibians, and you can see, a lot of the things that I did mention, the event page on the Village Theater page on Facebook and on villagetheater.org. There's a calendar there. I also want to say that if anybody wants to help get the shows rolling again, one of the things we're really pushing for is to get live at the Village with a live audience, and that's going to take a lot of production. So, any companies or anybody that wants to help with that, we are accepting sponsorships, and we're going to try to get that going this year, hopefully.
Yeah, that's an outstanding idea. I hope you can pull that one off and get some people to step up and sponsor that, because I think that's much needed. The exposure would be amazing for people if you.
Yeah, I think it would be cool because all the bands could share it. We could all share it and get promotion for everyone, and it'll be a great time too.
Well, we've got a lot. We've covered a lot today. Mike's Music locations in Cincinnati, Covington, and Newport, the newest location there, if you want to check that out as well. And Mike, I can't say enough about what you're doing. You are a huge supporter of the music scene in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky region. And thank you so much for what you do.
You too, Scott. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Stay with me as we go off the air here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on this noon show. Hit that little share button if you can, and head on over to all those pages Mike mentioned and hit the subscribe or like on those, and support them as well, guys, if you will. Thanks for watching today. We will be back with you tomorrow with our Thursday show. It's called Who's Playing Out? The best musicians and venues in the Tri-State, and who's playing for the week. And we'll have that for you at 5 p.m. live tomorrow. Until then, guys, get out and support live local music and the bands and venues that bring it to you. Thanks, Mike Reeder. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Scott.